go. Latest trends to go with the flow. Holding it in my own hand. Then I want to laugh like I lost my mind. Usually confused all the time. I can't get no satisfaction in activity. Sitting heavily like stones upon my shoulders, weighing down on me. So let's spread our wings to bigger, better things. Flying to another world, let's go. When every door was locked away, with every possibility. Okay, just another day. I'll break the wall that's in my way. I'm shooting past that limit break. I'm certain this is just a piece of cake. Just wait and see how strong I'll be. I'll reach invincibility. This is Dragon Ball Super. Just tell the gods I'm blowing them away.
Where am I? I'm alive? Huh. Slowly, Gohan opened his eyes. It didn't help. There was no light, no space for light to exist in, no air for sound and smell to travel in either. He was seeing only through his ki sense. Then this must be, he realized, outside the universe. It worked! I followed Alpha's rupture in the time stream. I was going to fix it. Damn, how long was I out? I feel different. Oh! My ki returned to a fully divine level. Must have been a defense mechanism. Now I think about it, mortals probably can't survive out here. Well, anyway, he did a sweep of his surroundings. The border of the universe was close, but it felt wrong somehow. He propelled himself in the direction of this wrongness, figuring it to be the disruption Alpha Shenron had caused. Yeah, this feels like the energy signature her attack gave out. It must be the breach she made. Better see if I can close it. It'll make it much easier for the Eternal to get in. He placed both hands on the center point of the tear, tapping into his shifting powers to try and bring the disparate edges of space-time together and seal the breach. He experienced strong resistance though, straining even his divine strength to move it even the slightest distance. Ugh! He felt a slight ripple in the protective aura surrounding him as the feedback washed over him. She put a lot of power into this. Can't overcome it! He turned Super Saiyan, pulling all the harder, but remained deadlocked. This doesn't bode well. As much power is in this, it's only residual. Her full power must be a lot higher. But it's not about I can or I can't. It's I will! Shaking with combined mental and physical exertion, he gave one final pull, and found himself at the point of failing, the point of breaking, until something familiar burned to life inside of him, rushing to the surface and filling him with new strength. A beacon of energy filled the void around him, and the newly reawakened Super Saiyan God fell back, looking on with satisfaction at his work. The breach was sealed. The Eternal held at bay for a little longer, though it'd still arrive eventually, if Alpha Shenron remained alive. He paused to recover his energy, exhilarated with his success. I guess I need to head back to... Now that he wasn't focused on his task, something else was beginning to catch his attention. What is that? He'd almost mistaken the energy for another universe, like the dozen or so he could vaguely sense around him, but on close examination it was different. He focused his ki sense on it, and wished he hadn't. He saw it. Big couldn't describe it. No human classification of size was adequate for something as incomprehensible as this. Evil could not hope to match up to the monstrous, unstoppable waves of aggression that exuded from it. Sheer ill will that could crush stars. Hunger couldn't scratch the surface of the vast, unthinkable depths of the ferocious desire that burned in those eyes. Those eyes, those eyes, those eyes. And it saw him. It saw him. Rational thoughts gone, Gohan scrambled to get away. Instant transmission, shifting, to get away from the terrible presence. But not home, not the universe he'd come from, for that was where it was approaching, looming over the 7th universe like a hunter crouching over speared game. So he latched on to the next closest place he could find, any place, and fled to it, crossing dimensions with the speed only absolute fear could bring. He sat up, shivering all over, finally starting to collect his thoughts after who knew how long. Standing slowly, he took in his surroundings. A light-colored stone path flanked by sunny fields on either side. One end of the path snaked off into the horizon. Another led up to an enormous palace. Hey, am I imagining things or... No, it is him. Beerus is in there. And there's a bunch more people around as strong as he is. What is this place? The semi-repressed memories of the moment before suddenly intruded back into his mind, reminding him of the terror that had brought him here. Was that thing the Eternal? I can't even fit the idea of it into my mind. Just what the hell are we up against here? Inferno Gauntlet. Hephaestus Shenron found himself tumbling out of control, desperately trying to regain his bearings after being struck by an attack beyond his ability to detect or defend against.
Her power isn't equal to mine anymore. She surpassed me already. I should have killed her when I had the chance.
Well, he knew that this wasn't true. He had tried his hardest, but she'd taken everything he had and stood up to it long enough to overtake his power. He never got the chance to get his balance back. Something of hers, probably an elbow, took him in the stomach mid-flight, bringing him back to Earth with a mighty impact. Gah! He half sat up while still skidding over a lava stream, letting fly a barrage of I-beams that peppered the entire area Pan hovered over. But they hit nothing but rock, and in the same instant he was struck again, from behind this time, flipping him over and landing him flat on his face.
How could she move that fast?
He jumped up, summoning up all his strength.
Will you stand still and face me?
He managed to remain composed as she blinked into view directly in front of him. Alright, she replied. You want a hand-to-hand battle? Fine. But you do probably have more of an advantage here than if I keep doing hit-and-run attacks. Well, I'll humor you.
Don't talk down to me, you!
Hephaestus closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. This was no way to fight.
Calm.
He looked back up at Pan, whose aura burned as bright as ever.
Begin.
He hissed, and she nodded, sliding her back leg into a fighting stance. He struck first, making an explosive lunge and leading with a high kick, pumping as much ki as he could into each movement to increase its speed and force. She advanced simultaneously, kicking one foot against the ground to propel herself, spinning around his attack and striking his flank, exposed from his all-out attack, with the back of her fist, cracking his armor again, and dragging him back with her arm's movement. He flipped away, weathering the hard hit by spinning forward out of her reach. From his now upside-down position, he aimed a ki blast for her head. She barely got her leg out in time to kick his hand out of the way, causing his beam to miss by inches, the blast wave uncomfortably hot on the side of her face. The impact of her kick on his arm spun his whole body sideways, riding him again, and he wasted no time in resuming his attack. He feinted with his right arm, and she almost fell for it, just barely noticing his rising left knee fast enough to change her blocking arm's course and shove his leg back down. This distracted her long enough for him to throw a punch with his left hand, but he underestimated her reaction time. Her own free hand shot up, intercepting his fist with her own and jarring the bones in his hand with her greater strength. In this tiny moment, when both of Pan's arms were fully committed to a movement, Hephaestus took advantage of the situation and seized both wrists, leaping over her head to twist her arms into a full hold. Wasting no time, she swung backwards for a headbutt, but he tilted his own head forwards and let her bruise herself on his helmet.
I've got to break at least one arm before she...
Something wrapped itself around his left forearm and tugged it away.
Her tail! I overlooked it!
Her free arm shot back in a knife hand, and he let go, backing away and only sustaining a shallow cut to the shoulder, slicing straight through his pauldron. His attention was diverted by this, though, and he failed to notice her foot scything out as well, tripping him and sending him stumbling backwards, defenses down. Taking this chance, Pan laid into him with both arms, rapid-fire punches driving him down into the dust, and completely shattering much of his armor. A final kick rolled him over several times, bringing him to rest on his back, on the verge of blacking out. Gasping for breath, he turned his head to look over at his formidable foe.
Very impressive. Yes, she's more powerful than I am now. But that's not what won her this exchange just now. It was skill. She outplayed me at every turn. What a fighter.
Save us both some time and give up, Pan said as she relaxed. There's no joy in finishing you now.
Sorry.
Hephaestus pulled himself up, swaying into an upright position and placing himself between her and the door.
It is my duty to guard this level. You would not consider surrendering after the loss of your father and the others, but I am in the same situation.
His eyes narrowed.
Gaia and Hades were my comrades. and they too have fallen this day. It would shame their memory to let you pass.
Then I guess that's it. Pan tensed up, then jumped at Hephaestus, arm drawn back to deliver the final blow. As long as you live, you can't let me through. And as long as I live, I can't stop. So there's only one way this can end! Hephaestus began to move for a counterattack, but was too slow. Pan was set to impact first, aimed at his throat, to finish him quickly. However, something burst up through the floor, a flood of dark liquid that quickly solidified into a winged humanoid lizard, dull gray all over, as if made out of some ethereal clay. It lunged upwards, intercepting Pan's attack and knocking it to the side. She jumped back, cautious of this new arrival.
Damn it, Hephaestus!
It growled.
Don't you die on us too!
The armored shadow dragon breathed a sigh of relief.
Prometheus! I thought you'd never get here.
He turned to Pan.
Allow me to introduce Prometheus Shenron. He's not one of the 7 shadow dragons originally sent to this universe, but he and I are old friends, and I sent out a mental distress signal to him as soon as you began to exceed my power.
Like Gaia, I am a scout that enters universes before the main force to prepare them for our arrival. Traversing dimensions is child's play to me, usually. It was breaking through the ceiling spell that 6 universes Hakaishin placed on me that took me so long. Prometheus explained in his totally flat, expressionless voice. So what? You're going to take over? Pan guessed. Or you're double-teaming me?
In a way.
Hephaestus stepped up next to Prometheus.
You may be aware that the stronger a shadow dragon is, the higher in the tower they're placed. However, I've been fighting you with everything I have, and I haven't put out any more power than the previous 2 dragons.
I'm not here to play games, Pan grumbled. Whoever's gonna fight me, come at me! Hephaestus inclined his head.
I assure you, the answer is simple. Our true power only shows itself when we work together as one! Prometheus! Ready!
Prometheus' body began to melt back into its liquid state, flowing onto Hephaestus' outstretched arm. What remained of his armor also dissolved and was subsumed into the shifting mass. When it settled, his arm was sheathed in gleaming silver, etched all over in a pattern not unlike a circuit board gone mad. Most noticeably, projecting from his wrist over the top of his hand was something alarmingly like a gun barrel. Pan kept her guard up, circling slowly and trying to gauge his power level. It had certainly increased drastically after merging with Prometheus. This was also the first time she'd seen the face beneath the helmet, since that had gone too. With that attitude, I never figured him for a pretty boy. And where was he keeping all that hair?
The stakes haven't changed, Hephaestus declared. Neither of us can back down, so let's continue.
Wordlessly, Pan attacked, ducking right to try and catch him off guard, but he matched her movement, kicking low. She brought her shin up to block it, their limbs colliding with equal force and coming to a halt. He swung his left arm, and she dodged back out of the way, firing a quick ki blast as she moved, which he sidestepped. Her speed and strength are equal now, she realized. I think I've raised my power about as high as it's going to go. She stepped back in towards him, punching for his face, but he blocked with his metallic right arm, injuring her forearm with the force of his defense. Ugh! What is that thing made of? He brought the arm around before she could follow up, a pale light appearing within the barrel, rapidly growing. Pan threw herself down and left the instant before a great tongue of flame leapt out of the weapon, accompanied by an immense burst of energy. Seeing that he'd missed, Hephaestus lowered his weapon as Pan stood, sweating from the heat generated by his blast.
That is our forge cannon, he told her. Beware, Super Saiyan.
Yeah. Hakaishin Council. This is getting nowhere! Beerus yelled, pacing around the circular chamber. How long have we been talking in circles? I have no idea where Whisa slipped off to. At least let me go with him, the hunter pleaded. And whoever else volunteers. It can be of our own volition. The Red King, Cadmus, bowed his head. While I do not doubt that this Eternal represents a serious threat, I do not believe that there is any being capable of devouring an entire universe in such a short time span. We can afford to wait for the sorcerer. His counsel may prove invaluable. The warrior shifted in his seat, beginning its odd manner of speech again.
One here finds tempted,
it admitted.
Shadow dragons. Challenging foes? Possibility distinct. Eagerness, some felt.
Whether you want to fight them is irrelevant, the scholar countered, one hand flicking up in a hovering data screen and tapping out several commands in response to a beep from her electronic visor. We barely know anything about them. Rushing in unawares out of a desire for honor or glory is what lesser beings do. We should know better. The pilot shrugged. I could scout it out, you know. Silence! Mercury the Knight stood abruptly.
The Red King has made his decision, and we will abide by it. Or do any of you doubt his wisdom?
The dreamer's rainbow wheel eyes flicked open, her mouth moving unnaturally quickly. She always unnerved Beerus. She never seemed entirely real and material. Her eyes seemed to emit light instead of absorbing it. It was difficult to tell where her hair ended and her toga began, and she very rarely touched the floor. "This is a tale of the blind and the far-seeing," she said loudly, looking from Cadmus to Beerus and back. "But which is which I cannot say. What a story this day will make," she smirked, "if I survive to tell it." Cadmus frowned. "You cannot seriously tell me that you fear that—" He froze. "Someone has entered the Citadel." "Someone... yes, with divine key." "The sorcerer?" The hunter asked, then shook his head. "No, I sense it now too. It's not him." They all waited in tense silence as the new arrival made its way towards the council chamber. Finally, a figure appeared in the doorway, a messy-haired man completely aglow with a gentle red light. Hi," Gohan said nervously, giving an awkward wave. Gonna be honest, I don't know where I am right now, but your power is all pretty intense." "Beerus?" Beerus blinked, then snapped his fingers in recognition. "Ah, the Super Saiyan God! Yes, I remember you. How'd you get here?" Probably a stupid question, but do you know about the Shadow Dragons?" One rushed but comprehensive explanation later, and Gohan had recounted events on Earth up until his jump outside the universe, and his subsequent experiences up to this point, followed by Beerus giving brief introductions. A corroborating independent source, the scholar said evenly. This does strengthen the priest's arguments somewhat. The Red King nodded. Indeed, and I cannot deny that he has the power to do what he claims. This is a difficult decision. "It is not!" a strident voice declared, and a second later a flash of light illuminated the materialization of a bird-like individual, cloaked and hooded in ornate gold and purple, clutching a gnarled wooden walking stick in one hand. Beerus rolled his eyes, sighing. The sorcerer always did like to make grand entrances, and happened to have a spell that changed the location of his portal to anywhere throughout the council complex, rather than fixed entry points like the others, allowing him to pull off ridiculous stunts like this. Shoving Beerus out of the center of the room, the sorcerer leaned on his staff, fixing the Red King with a beady stare. "Don't bother explaining everything to me, by the way. I read your minds on the way here. I know everything, and believe me, the priest and his little friend are telling the truth. Every word." Beerus felt slightly nervous at this mental intrusion, but he knew that the sorcerer's mind-reading spell had limits. It only examined recent memories and relevant matters prominent in their minds, so could not learn closely guarded secrets like the god's true names, or Whisa's true nature. "As for my lateness, I've just been scrying for a being called Prometheus Shenron. I caught it scouting my 6th universe a couple of decades back, and have been keeping it locked up since, to see if any of its kind would arrive to look for it. Just now it escaped, and I finally located it after quite some searching. It's in the 7th universe." "There's an 8th Shadow Dragon there now?" Gohan asked with a start. "This just keeps getting worse." "I will say plainly, Cadmus," the sorcerer continued. "We must act now and decisively, or the 7th universe will be destroyed, and it will not be the last." Cadmus took this in, his coldly logical mind processing all available information and quickly reaching a conclusion. "Very well. We shall assemble a strike team and attack the Shadow Dragons head-on. I will head this force. Volunteers, step forth now." "I'll go, obviously," Beerus said cockily. "It's my universe to look after, isn't it?" "Me too," Gohan declared. "It's my home, after all." The knight stepped up to his ruler. "Where you go, I go, my lord."
As said in previous,
The warrior muttered, standing.
"Intrigued. Shadow Dragons. This volunteers also."
The hunter gave a lopsided grin. "Ah, hell, priest. Can't let you steal all the glory, eh?" He jumped up, slapping Beerus on the shoulder. "Count me in." "I'm not missing this," the pilot concurred. Finally, the sorcerer straightened up, the hunch vanishing and the age falling away from its once modeled features. Walking stick transformed into an ornate metallic staff, carved with arcade sigils from end to end. "I have witnessed the threat these Shadow Dragons pose, albeit second-hand. I will go." No further volunteers came forth. The silent remained, well, silent and unmoving in his seat, the top half of his face shrouded by his pitch-black hood. The pilgrim was far too peace-loving to want to participate in a violent action like this. Apparently, his methods as god of destruction were odd. The dreamer merely laughed and hummed a haunting tune. The scholar had no desire for frontline combat, but was more than happy to take notes afterwards. And the fisherman was... well, the fisherman. Beerus still wasn't sure what had possessed him to choose that name. With the strike team assembled, the Red King led them at a brisk pace straight for the portal to the 7th universe. None of us have been in that universe for some time, he reminded them. We have no idea what awaits us. Steel yourselves for anything. Have no fear, for we are the multiverse's finest. And show no mercy, for we shall receive none. Move out! I'm sure whatever Whis went to do is of the utmost importance, Beerus thought to himself as he approached the portal, tossing his attendant's staff from one hand to the other. But why would he leave this? He never goes anywhere without it. What have you gotten yourself into, old friend? The sky above the Shadow Dragon's tower was still constantly lit with tongues of ethereal flame, and the air reverberated with constant explosions of sound as Wisterion and Alpha Shenron clashed once again. Rings of green lightning crashed against Wisterion's chest in rhythm with Alpha's fist. He spun away, his return kick splitting the sky as he twisted out of her reach, simultaneously knocking her back through the air, the Shadow Dragon arcing away through the atmosphere in a jet of flame. She didn't bother to fight against the momentum. Accelerating past light speed again, she sped onwards, rocketing around the entirety of the planet to come at Wisterion from behind. He turned just in time, catching her charge, her body wreathed in deadly energy, two-handed and stopping her dead. Her hands reached out through the shield and grappled with his, locking against each other and pushing against one another for an exchange. Why this universe, Wisterion? Alpha hissed. You've allowed the cycle to continue so many times. Why fight it now? What's different? I allowed it, but I never liked it. Wisterion grunted back, miniature supernovas going off between them as their auras wrested for control of the surrounding space. Always, I vowed to myself one day I would find the strength to resist, to stop the slaughter, to put to rest the souls of all those trillions I failed. And this time, that feeling came to a head. He grinned wearily. Because this one is different. Yes, not hugely different, but enough. They're just mortal insects and little gods, she snapped. They're nothing to you and I. Ignoring her, he continued. The inhabitants of this universe are extraordinary. They have the ability to raise their power enormously in stunningly short periods of time, progressing in barely a few years from mortal to demigod or even fully divine ki. One of them even became a rival for their Hakaishin. And as for him, whether he knows it or not, I think Beerus exemplifies his universe. He's headstrong and acts on his emotions, but ultimately he has a good heart. He's a strange one sometimes, but that uniqueness is a wonderful thing. I see all the best qualities of this universe as people reflected in him. Alpha spat. Your analogy breaks down the whole power-raising thing. He can't have the potential to grow too far. At the end of the day, he's only a god. Wisterion's smile was unwavering, though boldness now shone in his eyes. You'd think that, wouldn't you? But that applies to him, too. He isn't aware of it yet, but Beerus has the potential to become a truly fearsome warrior. He just hasn't faced the right challenge yet, one that will elevate him beyond his limits, just like the mortals of this realm have done so many times. You make it sound like he's your secret weapon. Where is he then? I'd rather not involve him. If I kill you now, it ends here! Wisterion abruptly stopped pushing, pulling Alpha in towards him, leaping up and aiming both feet at her incoming face. She vanished, however, phasing into view behind him, elbow coming down and striking the top of his head. Snarling, he flung his ki outwards in a destructive blast, causing her to retreat again. And can you kill me? She taunted. I'm going to be honest. I've always hated the way you acted superior around us. I've waited a long time for this. I'm going to enjoy beating you into the dirt, but you should be fine with that. You'll finally be down on the level of those mortals you care so much for. Those mortals are getting closer, you know. Even if you beat me, they'll show you why I care for them. Inferno Gauntlet. The two fighters clashed again, Pan flipping away and shaking her aching hand. Damn! That metal arm is tough, and he keeps blocking with it. I gotta avoid that. Hephaestus didn't let up, pursuing her and striking quickly. She blocked his right arm in instinct as it sped towards her face, hissing as her own arm rebounded painfully off it again, but succeeded in redirecting his attack. She exploited the opening, jumping and landing a kick to the side of his head, staggering him back. He didn't let her press the advantage though, grabbing her by the ankle with his left, and pulling her in to land a solid blow to her body with his steely right. Gasping for air, Pan threw out an uncontrolled arc of energy, forcing him back and leaping away, catching herself and landing upright a few feet away, shoulders rising and falling quickly as she struggled to recover from a direct hit from Hephaestus' fearsome weapon. Abruptly, though, he appeared behind her, arm raised, glow rising in the forged cannon's barrel as it charged up for another shot. Gritting her teeth and bracing for the impact, she spun, kicking the cannon arm away with all her strength, and causing the shot to go just slightly wide. The collision sent needles of pain shooting up her leg, and the backblast and heat from the fiery blast's near miss floored her. Ugh. He's raised his level to about equal to mine, but that thing's giving him an advantage. I'm taking a lot more damage than he is. Well, here's a stupid idea I've been working on. Seems like the best time for it. She stood, squaring her shoulders and facing Hephaestus again. He nodded.
Yes, I didn't think that was all you had. This could take a while.
Pan remained where she was, forming an energy sphere between her hands and gradually increasing its size. He frowned.
What are you trying to do?
Nothing special. She pointed the attack at him, forming it into an arrow-straight yellow beam. He frowned, preparing to block it, but the shaft of light simply washed harmlessly over him with no physical force at all.
What?
The energy attacks we use are composed of heat, light, and force. I just separated the three components and fired them separately. Pan did not, of course, tell him this, for obvious reasons. All Hephaestus knew was that some second object had been fired at him while he'd been distracted by the light. Now the ground was immensely hot, even more so than usual for Inferno Gauntlet. Unable to bear the pain leaping up through his feet, he jumped high into the air. Pan, however, was already there, waiting for him. Eyes widened in surprise, Hephaestus hurriedly raised his forge cannon. That's it, Pan thought. That's what I needed. Him to try and fire that thing when I'm expecting it. On my terms, in other words. Because for an instant, when he goes to fire, the barrel opens a path directly to the inside of that metal arm. Sure enough, the glow appeared once more from deep within the weapon, and in that instant, Pan struck, now throwing the final, third component of her energy attack, the Force. In other words, a Ki. It collided with the still-forming blast of flame that was building inside the cannon, sending it back where it had come from and strengthening it with Pan's own power. The external, visible effect of all this was that Hephaestus shrieked and writhed uncontrollably, the surface of his arm rippling and tearing, until finally the entire limb burst asunder in a fiery explosion, hurling jets of flame and boiling shards of metal liquid in all directions. Hephaestus sank to the ground, gasping and trembling all over, and Pan followed, standing in front of him with her hands on her hips. Your ki hasn't gone down much, so I guess you're still merged with Prometheus or whatever, she said calmly. In which case, knowing you, this isn't going to stop you fighting, is it?
We've been over this.
Hephaestus growled, forcing himself to his feet and raising his head.
Neither of us is going to give up. You know how it has to end.
Yeah, I guess. Pan burned her aura brighter, settling into a battle-ready stance. Let's end it! The two fighters charged towards one another, each drawing an energy-enhanced arm to strike back.
I will never,
they said, almost in unison. Pan brought her fist around.
Stop!
Hephaestus swung his own punch.
Let you pass!
Hakaishin Temple, 7th Universe. The strike team arrived through the dimensional portal with no ceremony at all. The 8 gods made their way straight for the exit. As they neared it, Beerus drew Gohan off to the side, muttering to the others that he'd catch up. Now in private, he turned and glared at Gohan. Alright, I can't expect you to have known this already, but you said my true name back there. Don't do that. I don't think they noticed with all the other stuff going on, and I didn't want to draw attention to it back then, so we got lucky. Gohan frowned. What's the problem with it? Between gods, names are power. We all have informal titles for each other. To them, I'm the priest, alright? Remember that. Okay. Gohan nodded, but Beerus was already walking off. Why priest, though? He asked as he hurried along after the feline deity. Isn't that kind of ironic? Since when do I have to explain myself to you? Now hurry up, let's go save the universe or whatever. They merged out onto the exterior of the temple, preparing to take flight. Gohan was staring at his index and middle fingers, frowning. Long-distance instant transmission isn't working. I can't clearly sense any presences beyond the star system. There's some kind of interference. That's never happened before. The sorcerer tapped him on the shoulder, his particular telepathic powers allowing him to read his surface thought. Encountering difficulties, I see. I tried to teleport spell myself as soon as we arrived, but to no avail. I'd theorized that the increasing proximity of the Eternal to this universe is causing its energy to permeate the entirety of your space. Definitely a hindrance to any long-range travel ability. No matter, Cadmus countered. It should take us under an hour via conventional flight. Stay in formation and follow the priest's lead. You should know the way. Well, this thing does anyway. Beerus raised Whis' staff, which sent him a mental impulse informing him of Earth's relative location to him. Alright, stay close. He took off, the other 7 gods following hot on his heels, soon clearing the atmosphere and disappearing off into deep space, making a direct beeline for Earth. Otherworld. Elder Hakaishin sat back from his observation of the universe, having now seen the battle within the tower, the battle over it, and the arriving gods. He sighed. I see. What is it, Ancestor? Kabuto-shin asked anxiously. Have you determined the source of all these disturbances? There's a prophecy or something, right? There's some kind of precedent for this. Sometime in your long life, you've encountered something like this. Old Kai gave a shrug. Nope. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. We may all be about to die, or not. Not a clue. Oh. Inferno Gauntlet. Hephaestus Shenron opened his eyes. What? He was lying on the ground, in front of the door onwards. Prometheus lay a few feet away, still unconscious. Hephaestus' right arm was now intact, but the damage that had been done to it before was shared out, burns and scars dotting his arm and Prometheus' whole body. Why am I alive? I'm not sure, Pan said, standing over him, powered down. You were close, by the way, in that last clash. She indicated a shallow cut on the side of her head. Didn't miss by much. Anyway, I just didn't feel like finishing you. But the same courtesy I would have given you. A true warrior's death. She shrugged. That's your code. You play by your rules, I'll play by mine. I won. So, you're not angry? Not with you, personally. You aren't the one who killed my friends and family. I know you've helped cause a lot of destruction, but hell, you were just doing what you were made for. Nobody ever asked you if you wanted to, right? He was silent. Alright then, she said, taking in a deep breath. I've got places to be, dragons to punch, and be seeing you. Pan! A voice called out from behind. She turned to see Vegeta Jr. and Goten jogging up towards her. Goten noticed the conscious Hephaestus. He's not our problem, Pan assured them. He's brave, sure, but he knows he's been defeated. Let's go. Not yet, Hephaestus whispered. Don't try to go through the door. He'll kill you. If you stay, he'll come down. He'll give you a chance to fight. He? The final shadow dragon in this area, Helios Shenron. Hephaestus sighed. You managed to raise your power to Prometheus and my level, perhaps even higher. And your allies must be similarly impressive if they overcame Gaia and Hades. But trust me, Helios is a world apart from us. Beware. I will. Pan trailed off, looking up towards the sky. Hold on, I think he's coming. Yeah, check out that power. Vegeta whistled. The guy wasn't kidding. We're in trouble. Pan frowned. Where is he, though? The only change I can see is that the sun stopped going in all those weird little circles. Actually, it's getting bigger, too. Hephaestus smiled weakly. That's not the sun. The burning trail of light focused itself into a single, narrow point, and slammed into the ground in an explosion of sound and fury that would make a nuclear blast seem pathetic by comparison. Slowly rising from his crouch at the bottom of the flaming crater, smoke rising from his body, ki hanging like a painful shroud over the entire landscape, stood the master of Inferno Gauntlet.
Greetings, intruders. My name is Helios Shenron. I'm going to kill you, so make it interesting for me.
The 13th Universe. The Saiyan brothers turned to face Janemba as it materialized. Is it all true? Goku asked warily.
I did, yes.
Janemba muttered, turning away.
Don't misunderstand me. I didn't enjoy it, and I eternally regret it. But because of the sacrifice I was prepared to make, some life survives in this universe. Had I not, there would be none.
That can't be the only way to—
It was too late! Janemba snapped. Do not judge me. You haven't yet experienced that kind of desperation, but you might yet. Pray that you never come as close to annihilation as I did.
But Goku stomped up to Janemba, glaring straight up into its face. You didn't even try to fight the Eternal when it came along?
You don't know what it's like. You can't fight something like that. Trust me.
Goku, calm down. Raditz pulled his brother back. He made his choice. Right or wrong, we can't change it. All we can do now is do everything in our power to stop the same happening to our universe. He looked up at Janemba. You defeated the Shadow Dragon Sentier, didn't you? So are they significantly weaker than a Hakaishin? The ones I killed were, yes. Janemba frowned. But I'm almost certain that the Eternal will have improved their strength because of it, to prevent that from happening again. Raditz nodded. Yeah, we did reckon one of them, Alpha Shenron, had Divine Ki. Maybe part of her job is to fight off any gods that try and take him out. Hey, one more thing. You sent avatars of yourself into other universes to try and reduce the total life energy there.
What of it?
How often did you succeed? Janemba shrugged.
Opportunities have not come up often. I haven't even had time to visit every universe yet, and none more than once. In the 4th universe, I was destroyed by its god, the Hunter. He's quite proud of that, though he's secretly ashamed that I managed to kill over 1/10 of the life there. A waste now, and a terrible shame. If I can't take out enough, those I did kill die in vain. In the 5th universe, the fisherman's laziness towards his job allowed extremely powerful mortal warriors to arise, and they defeated me. You destroyed me in the 7th. In the 10th, a group of mortals managed to cut off my energy supply. In the 11th, my energy ran out after killing half of that universe's life forms. The scholar didn't care. She just watched it happen. The 8th, my one success, other than here. There are few enough living beings there now that the Eternal will never even notice it. The Jester did not take it well. They call him the Silent now.
You bastard! Goku shoved past Raditz, punching Janemba across the face. Janemba took it unflinchingly, sighing. You're just as bad as they are, if this is your only solution! Janemba took a step back, watching Goku shake his aching hand.
I never claimed to be better than anyone. Perhaps I must become despicable to stop the Shadow Dragons. I do not fear sinking to their level. If it means ensuring that at least some life survives, then I'm willing to become far worse than they are.
Hold on. Raditz indicated the drone standing motionless at the edge of the plateau they had met on. Those things. Apparently there's a planet called Alfheim in our universe, where some of them live, though they're not as smart as yours from what I gather. Plus there's that whole shifting thing you do. The Alfheim natives have got that going, even taught it to a relative of mine.
Yes, Alfheim is one of a series of early warning systems I set up,
Janemba explained.
There are multiple planets named that, one per universe that I have managed to establish this in. I cannot leave this universe, but I can send messages. Not to the Hakaishin, they wouldn't listen to me, but to the mortals in a given universe most suitable for 5-dimensional thinking. I give them the secrets of shifting, and teach them how to grow the drones. In return, they become my scouts. The Eternal's coming makes a huge 5-dimensional impression. I didn't know what to think the first time I felt it, but I have them all watching for it now. They reported to me shortly before you arrived. You certainly have less than 24 hours to stop the Shadow Dragons.
Then let's not waste any time, Raditz said flatly. Do you know of any way we can get back? Janemba considered this for a moment, then nodded slowly.
It will not be without risk, but it is possible.
It held up a cautioning finger.
Normally, you would not be able to pass through the seal the Hakaishin used on me, but the negative energy bleed running through the 7th universe will make it more susceptible to interdimensional travel. Not yet to the extent that a divine being such as myself could pass, but a pair of mortals, even exceptionally powerful ones such as yourselves, should be able to slip through.
So, what's the risky part? Goku asked, somewhat calmed down.
You will have to create a dimensional capsule to survive the void, as you did on the way here,
Janemba explained.
Since you will now be expecting it, the journey will not be as arduous as last time, but your success is by no means guaranteed. The scenario will be any variant on something trying to kill you. Expect anything.
Alright, but how do we get there?
I'll take care of that.
Janemba smiled for the first time.
The dimensional manipulation abilities of the natives of Alfheim, even that of my mindless avatars, they are pale imitations of the true art I have developed. However, I must sacrifice form and beauty for practicality here. To get you two through the seal, I shall essentially fire the pair of you towards the 7th universe at such high velocity that the seal cannot register your presence until it's too late. So I suppose I'll end up calling this technique Dimension Gun or some such.
Raditz folded his arms. I'm ready anytime. Thank you for helping us.
Regardless of what you think of me, I am committed to fighting the Eternal, and it is not too late for you to defeat the Shadow Dragons and avoid being faced with the choice I was. If there's nothing else to discuss?
No response.
Very well.
It raised its arms, placing one palm out in front of each, saying,
Good luck. I wish I had more advice than that.
His eyes narrowed, and the world dissolved around the brothers, melting away into a vortex of shifting colors and incomprehensible shapes. He did what he had to do, Raditz thought. He's a coward, Goku thought. They lost consciousness moments after that. Above the Shadow Dragon's tower, Wisterion swung and missed, hissing in frustration as Alpha's return blow grazed his neck, the creator god flinching out of the way just in time to avoid a serious injury. I'm losing ground! He blocked another vicious punch, the impact bruising his arm and flinging him several miles upwards before he managed to stop himself. We were even at the start of the fight, but while I've made sure to keep my skills sharp all these years, I haven't been in any real battles. I've lost stamina, and I'm tiring a lot quicker than she is. Having trouble keeping up, Wisterion! Alpha gloated as she flew up to get level with him. What you do to me doesn't matter. You'll lose either way! Wisterion grinned, a small trail of blood running down over his chin. If I kill you, it's over. If you kill me, you'll give the others all the motivation they need. The god of this universe, or its mortals, will rise to stop you. Either way, you've lost. I told you, didn't I? Alpha jeered. I'm not going to kill you. Just beat you into submission until you get on with your job. Wisterion gave a steely glare. If you don't kill me, I'll never stop fighting. It's the only way for you to survive. We'll see. Alpha retreated as Wisterion lashed out with an arc of blazing energy, shielding herself from the blast wave with both arms. Is that all? What do you call that? A distraction. Wisterion replied from behind her before an elbow jammed into the small of her back. Alpha snarled, swiping as she turned to face him, and he blocked the wild swing, landing a kick directly into her face. She pulled on the extended limb though, reeling him in and slashing him across the chest with the other clawed hand, throwing a spray of blood out into the upper atmosphere. Gah! He fell back, gritting his teeth against the pain of this new wound. Come on! Alpha grinned, cracking her knuckles. I'm just getting warmed up. Inferno Gauntlet. Helios Shenron stood at least 9 feet tall, and was possessed of neither physical wings nor conventional aura, but a hybrid between the two. Twin jets of fire erupted from his shoulders, tracing out a wing shape behind him, flexing slowly as if made of flesh and blood. His face was almost completely obscured by a radiant glow from behind, making it painful to look him in the eyes. Other than that, he appeared mostly human, with a light gray, surprisingly casual outfit held together in places by strips of black cloth, all of which somehow survived the immense heat radiating from his body. Gonna kill us, he says. Pan muttered, smiling. Yeah, that's been tried.
Fair warning, I won't hold anything back.
Helios said quietly, climbing out of the crater he'd made.
Equally, I expect nothing but your best. Do whatever you must to achieve maximum power, now!
That's Helios, Hephaestus observed. He lives for the fight. I tried to defeat them before they grew too powerful to handle, but he wants them as strong as they can get. In addition, he probably won't stop until they're all dead. Mercy, in his mind, is a dishonor to the ones spared. Alright!
Pan powered back up into her quasi-Super Saiyan state. You guys, you ready to fuse again? Yeah, Vegeta answered, nodding. Bit tired, but we're fine, right? Sure, let's do it. Goten stepped up next to his friend and they rapidly executed the fusion dance, letting out the cries of Fusion Ha! In staccato bursts. Gogeta, now standing in place of the pair of hybrids, quickly transformed up to Super Saiyan 2.
Interesting.
Helios' face was slowly overcome by an excited grin.
2 fighters with power on the level of us Shadow Dragons. I can see how you got this far. Yes, this is perfect. Finally, an enemy worthy of my time. Come at me, both of you!
You asked for it. Pan charged first, Gogeta close behind, strengthening their auras to resist the Shadow Dragon's heat. Pan's fist struck his face as Gogeta landed a kick to his stomach. They broke away, following up with a combined barrage of energy waves. There was no explosion, however. Helios raised his hand, opening it and drawing the multitude of beams into his palm, closing his hand effortlessly around the attacks, the light dying instantly. They realized at this point that he hadn't so much as flinched from their initial physical blows.
Yes, very good. I'm impressed.
Helios touched his face where Pan had punched him, smiling again.
I've been aching for a decent fight for so long.
The mark finally began to form from her attack. At last, someone whose attacks I can feel.
You two will be worth killing, as I thought.
He raised his hand, smile widening.
It's my turn. Just so you're aware, this next attack contains the same heat as the heart of a star.
Good to know. Gogeta tensed up as Helios' enormous ki concentrated itself in the palm of his hand.
I've tested your offense. Now for your defense!
Helios let the enormous burst of flame loose, flicking it right at the last second as he saw the pair of them dodge in that direction. It impacted the ground right where he'd last seen them running, evaporating rock and lava alike and tunneling down through solid stone for miles. As the dust clouds settled, Helios chuckled, then began to clap slowly, turning 180 degrees to face Pan and Gogeta, now standing behind him, both shaky and out of breath.
After images. Well done! You escaped in the other direction as soon as I diverted my aim. You're good.
His eyes lit up.
No, you're magnificent!
He began to pace towards them, wings of flame burning ever brighter. Damn! Pan growled. If just the fourth dragon is this tough, our chances don't look great. Gogeta sighed. Yeah, I know. I kinda figured once we got this demigod key thing figured, we'd be alright. Nope.
It's not as impossible as it may seem, actually.
Helios said confidently, walking between them.
Our position in the tower is based on the strength we were created with.
He crossed his arms.
But I trained vigorously, unlike some of my brethren. My power has improved a great deal since then, to the extent that I've become stronger than the next two Shadow Dragons, Glacius and Kronos.
Huh. Pan smiled. So if we beat you, then there's nothing to worry about until Alpha.
Perhaps. But then, that's irrelevant, since you'll die here.
Helios flared his ki to his maximum again.
Let's continue. But I just want you to know this has been very entertaining so far. It's going to be a pleasure killing you.
Raditz opened his eyes. It didn't get any brighter. He lifted his head. Now there was some light. He seemed to be lying face down on wet grass, and as his eyes adjusted to the dawn light, he saw a sparse tree line in the middle distance. One thing to note, I'm an adult this time, and my memories are all there. Maybe the fact that I knew what was going to happen this time, and went in intending to make this mind world thing? Or something. I don't know. He got to his feet, shaking off dog-like. Didn't work. He had evidently been lying there for a while and was soaked through. Well, I'll just evaporate it off with ki. He took in a deep breath, summoning up his aura. Nothing happened. Ah, crap. That was when he first sensed them. Interesting. He's almost completely gone, but I can still sense it. I guess that's just one of my normal senses. Good to know. Anyway, feels like a couple dozen of them. Human almost certainly. Power above average, but within the normal non-ki capable range. Warriors of some kind. He made a dash for the trees, crouching behind a particularly thick-trunked specimen, and waited for them to come into view. It took less than 3 minutes. He'd estimated their numbers correctly, and the group appeared to be made up of soldiers in dark green camouflage pattern. Well, that fits the terrain. Evidently my subconscious knows what it's doing. Each was armed with an Earthmake assault rifle. What, no planet trade blasters? I've been living with humans too long. He shifted to move to better cover for observation, and heard a sharp noise as his foot snapped a twig. Oh, come on, that's so cliché! He dived into a line of concealing bushes, gunfire rattling behind him and tearing up the ground where he just stood. Shouts from his pursuers carried downwind to him. Cross the boundary between universes unshielded, they said. He grumbled. It'll be fine, they said. Where'd he go? The squad commander whispered, taking point and rooting through the bushes their quarry had vanished to. He isn't here anymore, but I didn't hear anything. Nobody can move that quietly, can they? Well, he is supposed to be good, the leader replied, circling the small clearing warily. Nothing stirred in the forest. How good exactly? She asked. A shadow descended bat-like from the forest canopy above, landing in the midst of the squad. You tell me. Raditz growled, springing to his feet. The next few seconds were a blurred whirlwind of violence. 2 soldiers had limbs dislocated or broken before they were even aware of their enemy. Another raised her rifle, only for the squad leader to push it away. Firing at such close range was more than likely to hit one's own allies. As this happened, A third swung his gun club-like, but it was snatched from his hands and smashed back into his face, uneven metal tearing cartilage and cracking bone. He dropped, emitting a wet gurgle. Raditz let go of the weapon, and had too much momentum in the other direction anyway, and stepped backwards, driving both elbows back and taking out the squad leader and the one next to him, doing this as fast as possible, as the other 5 members of the squad were now finally reacting. They discarded their rifles, drawing large combat knives or rushing in bare-handed. He received a couple of punches and a graze from a blade before getting back into the rhythm of things, and the combat mellowed out into a monotony of crunches and pained yells as his opponents dropped one by one. As the last fell with their own knife in her back, the Saiyan leaned against a tree, panting. And that... his game. Key or no, I've been a soldier on the galaxy's most brutal battlefields. More recently, I've spent quite a few years training with the very best. Still, not used to normal materials being that hard. He winced as an ache shot up from his arm where he'd missed a target's face and punched their helmet directly. Now, he glanced down at the scattered firearms on the ground. Saiyans didn't usually cover much weapons training, but standard planet trade drill included their blasters. Can't ever discount for being depowered like this, or finding a weapon so powerful it's better than your own attacks. A few minutes should familiarize me with the differences. Besides, I've seen enough action movies to know vaguely how Earth guns work. Well, which way to point them, anyway. The general shook his head. Squad 1 shouldn't have gone down so easy. A trooper ran up to him, ducking into the command tent. Sir! Lost contact with Squad 2. Heard gunfire. Evidently he's got a hold of Squad 1's equipment. The general blinked. But Squad 2 are over to the east. And since Squad 1 was taken out, it's only been... He glanced down at the map beside him. Damn, he moves fast. It's just us and him now. 15 of us, though, and we have defensible high ground. You shouldn't be able to. As if to debate this point, a chatter of gunfire immediately broke out to his left. He upended his map table, diving behind it and drawing his large caliber revolver. The gunshots outside grew sparser, and then came to a halt altogether. Now! A voice called out. He's out! Move in before he reloads! Wait. Where'd he... This was followed by a series of cracks, snaps, and crunches, and the guards fell silent. And set. A second, unfamiliar voice growled. Shortly after, the entrance rustled. The general leapt up, fired off a round in the vague direction of the open hatch, and retreated back behind his cover. It was a simple mistake, you know. Raditz called in from outside, clutching his bleeding shoulder from a near miss. Assuming your perimeter was secure, that if I attacked any point I wouldn't have time to break through before you all got together and ganged up on me. But you underestimated my rate of fire. I'm a big guy. I can shoot one of your little human weapons from each hand, no problem. And I've got plenty of experience with rapid-fire targeting. The wind's distorting my voice, but if I make a move, that'll be more traceable sound. They'll shoot me through the tent wall, nearest gun's at least 6 feet away. What have I got to work with? You should have died straight away, the general muttered, slotting a shell into his empty chamber. You're out of your element. No, I'm in a war zone. Believe me, this is precisely my element. Raditz frowned. All that was in reach was various random objects the general had knocked off his table and upending it. Pen, paper, stationery, and... oh, hello. Now that's one dangerous desk ornament. The general had decided to try another few shots. He had enough ammunition to miss a few times and not run low, when something metallic rolled across the canvas floor, coming to a halt inches from his leg. It was, he realized with a jolt of panic, the hand grenade he kept for just such an emergency. Attached to it with duct tape was a small square of paper on which an overly cutesy smiley face was drawn. Oh, seriously. Raditz lifted his head, crawling out of the ditch he dived into to seek shelter from the explosion. And match. He looked up towards the sky. Alright. Hey, me or the universe or the void or whatever. Finished him. Fatality. I win. I can go home now, right? Just over 10 seconds of awkward silence later, he began to feel weightless, the world fading into a blank white. And there we go. Inferno Gauntlet. Pan and Gogeta retreated warily as Helios Shenron flexed his arms, light-obscured face turning slowly towards them. Any ideas? Gogeta asked. I've still got over 20 minutes of fusion time left. 1, maybe, Pan muttered. I can give you an opening, maybe, but you'll still probably take a hit in return. Then I'll use it to grab him, and you can deliver the finisher, he grinned. Try not to miss and kill me. Right. Ready? I'd better be. Gogeta shifted slightly. Do it! Pan nodded, circling rapidly, weaving in closer to Helios, who raised his guard. Pan dashed in, receiving a sharp blow to the midsection and falling flat on her back. As she skidded away, she disguised a quick downward slashing movement as an attempt to slow herself. In reality, she had ripped a chunk of volcanic rock out of the ground and crushed it into dust between her fingers. Gogeta remained poised, alert. Not yet. He'd still take me down before I even got close. Helios rushed in to continue his attack, and Pan backflipped to her feet, throwing a straight punch with her left. It all comes down to how he defends, whether he blocks or dodges. Helios chuckled, easily bringing up his arm in time to stop her blow dead. Yes! He blocked! She grinned, releasing the handful of dust from a range of a couple of inches directly into his face, propelling it with the burst of ki to turn it into a hail of razor-sharp projectiles, aiming to blind and disorient him. Gah! Helios lashed out, his arm catching Pan with a glancing blow to her arm as she retreated. Gogeta ran in simultaneously, not giving Helios time to adjust, and grappled the Shadow Dragon's arm and neck. Grabbing from behind would have been more secure, but the intense heat of Helios' wings made this impossible. Pan! Gogeta called. I hear you! Pan was already recovering from the force of Helios' wild swing and skidded to a halt, rapidly focusing her ki into a single tiny point in her fingertips. My strongest normal blow didn't bother him. Gotta concentrate my power! She swung, aiming directly for the joint in Helios' shoulder, arms snaking around Gogeta and swinging straight on course for its target. He was gone. Pan stumbled to a halt, mind reeling. Helios now stood a few feet behind her, arms folded, apparently unharmed. Hold on, where's... Gogeta hit the ground behind her, groaned, and fell still, first losing Super Saiyan, then defusing. Pan trembled at this display, feeling her will to fight slipping away. No. No way! We pulled it off perfectly! Caught him totally off guard! Is he just that much stronger? Helios turned to face her.
I know what you're thinking, and yes, I am. But in addition, including ki detection, I have 6 senses. You disabled but one of them, and then attempted to immobilize me with that kind of strength. Don't kid yourself. You are a pair of insects making war on the sun.
He unfolded his arms.
And now you are one.
Break, looking on, sat with clenched fists, nervous sweat joining caused by the heat. They were both so fast, but to him they must look like they're standing still. I wish I could help. Damn it, I've got to get to that level! Somehow. Helios walked closer to Pan, who seemed frozen to the spot.
Lost the desire to fight. That's no excuse, nor is fear, however appropriate.
He made a simple gesture, and a burst of fiery energy hurled Pan to the ground once more.
You entered into this battle full of determination. If you could just back out whenever you liked, there would be no risk, no sanctity to it.
She lay there, staring up at him.
Well, it was more entertaining when you fought back, but I suppose it makes no difference given the difference between us.
He brought his foot down heavily, driving her unresisting body further into the crumbling rock.
I think I'll finish you now. Huh?
A sudden key spike warned him, and he jumped back in time to avoid a blast hurled directly up into the air. Sanctity? Pan spat, back on her feet and facing Helios. Entertainment? What kind of crap is that? You think I'm here to play your games? I'm not doing this because I want to!
Your spirit returned.
Helios smiled.
That's more like it. You don't like my outlook on battle.
Don't trivialize a fight to the death, you bastard! She yelled, swinging for his head. He caught it, nails digging into her hand, drawing blood.
Trivialize? You mistake me. I glorify battle. I worship it. This is my reason to exist.
He swung her overhead, throwing her away behind him and hearing with some satisfaction the multiple thumps and crashes as she bounced and rolled to a stop.
That's why I'm superior to you, all of you. You're limited by needing a reason to fight. Fighting is my reason. There's nothing more to it. That's why I'm always pushing myself so hard, and why my power is unparalleled short of the gods themselves.
Pan wiped away a stream of blood that had trickled down into her eyes, backing away again. All of us? I think I'm actually related to a couple of guys like you. Close by, Break was standing now, taking slow, measured breaths and keeping her energy simmering gently. It's no use. I just can't summon up the emotional depth. I can't break through into demigod ki the normal way Gohan and Pan did. But then, like them, I'm not really a normal Super Saiyan either. Wait! She stifled a gasp. It's become instinct now, but when I first went Super Saiyan 3, all those years ago, yeah, I combined Super Saiyan 2 and the legendary form to achieve it, but it wasn't quite that simple. Legendary Super Saiyan was just used as a spark or trigger. What happens if I fully combine them? Is that even possible? Helios paused.
Huh. Her key's acting strangely.
Pan's eyes widened. Break! What are you doing? Trying to help, Break muttered. You know those two types of energy are incompatible, Pan protested. Do you have any idea what you'll do to yourself? Break remained firm. If there's even a chance it'll make me stronger, it'll mean you won't have to keep suffering this alone. I'm telling you, don't! Pan straightened up, burning up her aura. I'll suffer alone all I want, thanks. And I promise, I will defeat this guy before I see a friend go through what you're about to try. Break paused, letting her energy relax. She's reacting pretty strongly. She doesn't know what it's like, surely. Unless... two incompatible energy sources. When she tried and failed to mix Super Saiyan and Ozaru, she realized. But she's so desperate to protect me from going through something similar. Shit, was it that bad?
You'll defeat me?
Helios repeated back to Pan.
Well, I can't fault your optimism, and this is more fun than when you were giving up.
I know what I said. Pan clenched her fist, powering up as high as she could manage. Come at me!
Alright.
Helios attacked, sending a spray of flame her way. To his surprise, it hissed through empty air, and Pan appeared to his right, thundering towards him.
She dodged it?
He blocked her leaping kick, but when he went to slap her away again, she ducked under it, rising under his guard to get a two-handed hold on his head, bringing it firmly down into her knee before letting go, allowing the momentum of her rising leg to fling him back, barely landing on his feet. Pan came to a halt, shoulders and chest heaving, smiling slightly. Told you! Huh?
I didn't think you could reach such strength.
Helios gasped before recovering his composure.
I applaud you, but I get the feeling that was a momentary thing. I don't think you have the power to sustain fighting at anything remotely near my level for more than a couple of seconds.
Try me! Gah! Pan cried out as a lightning-fast blow staggered her back. Helios lowered his arm.
I intend to.
Damn it! Pan aimed a leaping kick at him, but he blocked smoothly, flipping her over behind him and using her own momentum to dump her on the ground.
I must commend you.
Helios said calmly, turning.
I didn't think you'd still be alive after so long. Of course, I'll soon fix that.
The air folded and stretched outside the Shadow Dragon's tower, the universe grudgingly admitting two new entrants. Whoa! Raditz stumbled slightly, adjusting to having ki again. Hey, he asked his brother. You alright? Go through much? Barely worth mentioning, actually. Goku laughed. It was basically a bunch of old enemies rushing me at once. Most of them went down in 1 or 2 hits. We can't have much time left. Let's get in there. Right. Goku took the lead, sprinting up to the tower's entrance. I don't feel any energy at all from in there. There was supposed to be some kind of magic seal stopping us from skipping levels. It's probably to do with that. They passed easily through Eden Palace, finding the level empty but for Gaia's lifeless body. Well, that's one down at least, Raditz observed. Promising. Inferno Gauntlet. Helios drew back to prepare the final strike.
I've had enough fun now. You were interesting, mortal.
Screw you! Pan spat.
Farewell.
Arm wreathed in fire, Helios tensed up to spring, and flinched away before making contact. Just as, Times 10! A boosted Kamehameha wave shot past Helios' face, a surprised dragon dodging it by inches. He wheeled, turning on Goku.
Who?
Dragon Fist! Helios spun around again, facing the onrushing golden dragon that emerged from Raditz's outstretched arm.
What?
He drove a punch home between its eyes, destroying it, but the shockwave took him off his feet. As he regained his balance in the air, lightly scorched, he glared down at Raditz.
Curious. The attack was on our demigod level, but he himself is not. More insects.
Pan smirked. Yeah, but these ones sting. After many revelations from the fallen god Janemba of the 13th universe, Goku and Raditz have finally returned to the 7th universe to face the Shadow Dragon's threat. Meanwhile, Gohan has emerged in the first universe after sealing the breach caused by Alpha Shenron's devastating Void Banisher, and has united several of the gods of destruction into a task force to assault the Shadow Dragons head-on. Will they come in time? Or will Wisterion finally triumph against Alpha Shenron? As the fight progresses between the two deities, it's looking less and less likely. It will take a miracle for Wisterion to win. But what will the outcome of this battle be? Will Wisterion finally put down Alpha Shenron? Will the rest of the Z fighters make it to the top of the tower? Or will the gods of destruction reach the 7th universe and put an end to this attack once and for all? Find out next time on Even Further Beyond.